So Kamala gave an interview to a local Philadelphia news station, and they sliced it up to make her answers look less incoherent and more on point than they actually were, essentially covering up the enormous word salad off-topic answers she originally gave. You have to see this to believe this, so I'm going to show you two videos. The first is the original video that aired in full on YouTube and a few other places like the news organization's website. It shows Kamala asked a clear question about reducing costs and going into a long diatribe about her personal history and lawns and her mother.
When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, you know, construction workers and nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, you know, if a lot of people will relate to this. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their life. And I was raised to believe that dignity. And that we as Americans have a different character. You know, we have ambitions and aspirations, but not everyone necessarily has access to the resources. So when I talk about building an opportunity economy, it is very much the mind of investing in business and creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business.
So she was asked for specific policy ideas to bring down high prices, and she started talking about her childhood, her mother, nice lawns, and the spirit of the American people. Now, after a few minutes of rambling, she did eventually get to a couple of policy ideas, which hilariously wouldn't really bring down prices, but we'll get into that in a second. Here's what they aired on TV, though, this local affiliate. Here's how they cut the interview and aired it on TV.
When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
And creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business. So my opportunity economy plan includes giving startups a $50,000 tax deduction to start their small business. It used to be $5,000. Nobody can start a small business with $5,000. Opportunity economy means, look, we don't have enough housing in America. We have a housing supply shortage. And what that means, in particular for so many younger Americans, the American dream is elusive. It's just actually not attainable. To help people who just want to get their foot in the door, literally. And so giving first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance. Another plan that I have that is a new approach is to expand the child tax credit to $6,000 for young families for the first year of their child's life.
Did you notice anything about the massive clip jump there? They skipped over her whole word salad and multi-minutes of rambling about lawns and her childhood and just cut right to her policies, which this is only the second interview she has done since becoming the Democratic nominee for president. And so people are concerned about her coherence and her word salad and her ability to actually articulate solutions. And instead of the media showing people her honest answers, how she actually responds to questions, they are slicing her up in the most favorable way possible to make her seem more on point and articulate than she actually is. That's not journalism. That's propaganda. I don't understand from a journalist perspective why you would ever do that unless you are taking your bidding directly from the campaign headquarters. It doesn't make sense to me. You should show the American people her actual response in full, or at least in chronological order, not deceptively edit it. I mean, maybe you have to cut it down, but you should not juxtapose things so they seem as if they were said one after another when they weren't. That's very dishonest and very misleading editing that's clearly being done to make her look better. And even then, it doesn't really work because the actual policies that she gets to, I mean, I guess the bar is on the absolute floor at this point. We should give her a little bit of credit for actually discussing policies several minutes after being asked to name policies. These policies have very little to do with lowering prices. Like a tax credit for starting a small business is all well and good. I think that's an interesting idea. I'm not opposed to that, but it has nothing to do with lowering prices that people pay at the pump or at the grocery store. It's just completely off topic. Same way, the child tax credit has nothing to do with lowering prices. It's a whole separate, unrelated policy issue that might put money in people's pockets, although it also has to come from somewhere. It has to be taxed or redistributed away from other people's pockets, but it doesn't do anything to affect price levels, really. And some of the things she mentioned that actually would affect price levels are good, like, for example, talking about the need to expand the housing supply. She's right about that. We have a housing shortage and we need to cut red tape and regulations and build more housing. But ironically, one of the things she throws out there, her plan to give people assistance, taxpayer-funded assistance with down payments, would actually probably on net slightly increase housing prices, because what you're doing is subsidizing demand. You're not making it easier to build new housing. You're not doing anything to expand the supply. You're just increasing a subsidy to help people pay more, which we've seen with student loans and so many other things tends to get captured somewhat and just increase prices. When you inflate the demand arbitrarily and buyers know that now people can afford to pay more and there's still the same limited supply, they can raise prices to capture that. So it's a folly. It sounds good, it sounds nice, but ironically, it would probably have a small impact on increasing housing prices. And she's listing it as one of the things she'll do to decrease housing costs. That's kind of a hilarious own goal in a way. But the real story here is how this media outlet, this local media outlet, which was given the second interview that Kamala Harris has done as a presidential candidate, as a major at the top of the ticket. First, CNN got an interview, and then this local Philadelphia or Pennsylvania-based outlet, which does make sense because it's a swing state. But I mean, they must have a very cozy or friendly relationship with Kamala HQ here to get this interview and then to be editing it and slicing it up so favorably for the vice president. Something tells me they would not do the same for Donald Trump if he were to go on a rambly word salad answer for multiple minutes and then eventually get to somewhat related, though not even really that related, policy points. They wouldn't cut out all the fluff and make him look sharp and on point when he isn't. At least I don't think they would, but maybe I'm just cynical and too much of a skeptic. You guys, let me know in the comments, because in my view, this kind of thing is why people increasingly do not trust traditional old school media.